Hello students, welcome to AKR chemistry classes. In the last class I started the concept of solution. In the last class I taught what is the meaning of solution and what are the types of solutions are there, and I also taught methods of expressing the concentration terms for the solution in terms of mass percentage, mass volume percentage, molarity, normality, etc. And we also solved some simple problems based on the methods of concentration of solutions. So today we need to go further, that is part 2 of the solution. In this class today we are going to deal with first solubility of gas in liquids. Based on solubility of gas in liquids, I will teach you what is meant by Henry's law and applications of Henry's law with problems. Then we will go with the solution of liquids in liquids, that is solubility of one liquid in another liquid. Based on this concept, we are going to study with Raoult's law of binary solution, and this binary solution can be classified into two types, ideal and non-ideal. Again, non-ideal solutions can be classified into two types, positive deviation and negative deviation curves. And finally, we will going to solve some simple problems on this. Now coming to first, what is the actual meaning of solubility? What is the actual meaning of solubility? Solute, when combined, is treated with solvent. We should have to get a homogeneous solution. We should have to get an homogeneous solution. So, for example, if I take, for our convenience I am writing here, 10 grams of salt has an ability to dissolve in 100 ml of water. Means 100 ml of water has ability to dissolve only 10 grams of salt. Means this is the maximum amount of solute which can be dissolved in this suitable solvent to form an homogeneous solution. This is called as solubility. Then what is the meaning of solubility? Maximum amount of solute. Maximum amount of solute that can be dissolved in known volume or specified volume. Known volume, or we can also write it as specified volume. Known volume or specified volume of solvent to form homogeneous solution. Homogeneous saturated solution is called as solubility. The solubility mainly depends on two factors. The solubility mainly depends on two factors: nature of solute and solvent. Nature of solute and solvent. Nature of solute and solvent. So, if we got polar solute, then it is easily soluble only in polar solvents. It is easily soluble in polar solvents to form homogeneous solution. If I get non-polar solute, if I had non-polar solutes, if I got non-polar solute, then it is soluble in non-polar solvents. So in the first year PUC, in the chemical bonding, we taught this concept, like dissolves like. Polar molecules soluble in only in polar solvents, and non-polar molecules soluble only in non-polar solvents. Okay, na? The next one is solubility. Whenever a solute is added into solvent, the solubility takes place either with the liberation of energy. If the liberation of energy means it is an exothermic reaction, or it undergoes dissociation with the absorption of heat energy, which is called as endothermic reactions. Means the solubility may be exothermic or it may be endothermic in nature. During exothermic reactions, if the temperature increases in case of exothermic reaction, if temperature increases, solubility sorry, solubility decreases. In case of exothermic reactions, if I suddenly increase the temperature, solubility decreases. In case of endothermic process of solubility, with increase in temperature, solubility also increases, and this follows Le-Chatelier's principal concept. So what is the meaning of solubility? Finally, maximum amount of solute that can be dissolved in specified amount of solvent is called as solubility. Okay, we will move further. Solubility of gas. Solubility of gas in liquids. What is the meaning of solubility of gas in liquids? For example, consider that I got some 10 moles of gas. 10 moles of gas is there. Or I will take in terms of, consider I got exactly 10 ml of gas. 10 ml of gas is there, and I got liquid water about 1 liter. Out of 10 liters, out of 10 liters, out of 10 liters, only 8 liters or 8 ml, sorry, not liters, only 8 ml of gas is able to soluble in, 1 minute. Think that I got 100 ml, this one. Only 8 ml of gas has an ability to soluble in 100 ml of water. Out of 10 ml of gas, only 8 ml of gas is soluble in 100 ml of water to form saturated homogeneous solution. This is called as solubility of gas in liquid. So what is meant by solubility of gas in liquid? Volume of gas in milliliter at STP, which is dissolved in 1 ml of liquid to form a saturated solution. Not 100 ml, sorry. This is 1 ml. That dissolved in 1 ml of liquid to form a saturated solution is called as solubility of gas in liquid. Coming to nature of gases, that is solute. If gas is a solute, are two types. There are two types of gaseous solutes are there. One is polar gases and another is non-polar gases. For example, sulfur dioxide. When sulfur dioxide is treated with water, it is easily soluble in water because it involved in the formation of acid. Hydrochloric acid, or hydrogen chloride gas, ammonia gas. All these gases are polar in nature, which are easily soluble in water or more soluble in water. Because here I am taking solvent medium always polar in nature. Solvent medium is polar in nature. So if polar solutes is treated with polar solvents, then the solubility goes on increases. If I take non-polar solids such as oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, helium, argon. These are all non-polar gaseous solutes which are less soluble in water. Solubility of oxygen in water may be less, but it is enough for the aquatic life. Solubility of oxygen in water may be less, but it is enough for the respiration of aquatic life under water. Now, coming to the next, effect of temperature. When a gas is treated with water, H2O, liquid, if it involved in the formation of solution. If it is involved in the formation of solution, means it indicates that if gas is polar in nature, water is also polar in nature, that is like dissolves like, means more amount of gas is easily soluble in liquid water to form a homogeneous solution, and it is always an exothermic process, During this process, if temperature of the system increases, suddenly solubility decreases. The reason is, according to Le-Chatelier's principle, uh, whenever the temperature increases during this solubility, backward reaction favors in nature. Therefore, with increase in temperature, solubility decreases, and vice versa. What is the meaning of vice versa? If temperature decreases, automatically solubility increases, because according to Le-Chatelier's principle, decrease in temperature creates a stress on equilibrium. Therefore, forward reaction favors in nature. Next, coming to explain the effect of temperature, one more concept will be introduced, that is Clapeyron equation. I'll write directly the mathematical equation, that is log of C2 by C2 by C1, log of C2 by C1 is equal to delta H by R into 1 by T1 minus 1 by T2, where C1 and C2 are the concentration of solution at two different temperatures, that is T1 and T2. Whenever the temperature increases, I will come back here only, whenever the temperature increases, more amount of water molecules present in the solution undergoes evaporation. If water molecules undergo evaporation, then automatically solubility increases, which can be explained by using this equation. And delta H is nothing but enthalpy of solution, where R is called as universal gas constant. Next, coming to effect of pressure. On Henry's, effect of pressure. For example, if I take carbon dioxide gas, carbon dioxide is a non-polar gas. When it is treated with liquid water, which is polar solvent, to form homogeneous solution. Already, as I taught, non-polar solutes are less soluble in polar solvents, means at NTP conditions, at normal room temperature and pressure, or at low pressure, solubility of CO2 will be minimum in water. But as pressure increases, solubility of carbon dioxide will be maximum. So what does it indicate? With increase in the pressure of carbon dioxide, more amount of carbon dioxide is easily soluble in water to form homogeneous solution. Nothing but soda water. If you open the mouth of the soda water bottle, you know that the carbon dioxide gas will get liberated in the form of effervescence, because carbon dioxide gas is less soluble in water. So what does this concept indicates? The solubility of gas, nothing but mole fraction of the gas in solution. The solubility of gas, or it can also represented as the mole fraction of gas in solution, is directly proportional to the partial pressure of the gas at a particular temperature. The solubility or the mole fraction of the gas present in the solution is directly proportional to the partial pressure of the gas. This is called as Henry's law. It is represented as Henry's law. Mathematically, now it can be represented as mole fraction of gas or solubility of gas is always equal to Kh into partial pressure of gas, where Kh is called as Henry's constant. It is called as Henry's constant. This unit either it represents in terms of atmosphere or it can represent it in terms of per bar. Or I will rewrite this one as pressure of gas is exactly equal to Kh into solubility of gas, where I am going to express the unit in terms of atmosphere or in terms of bar. Okay, please note it down. Next, Henry's constant is the function of nature of gas. Henry's constant indicates the function of nature of gas, whether it is polar or non-polar. If the value of Henry's constant is more, then solubility, lower the solubility of the gas at the same pressure. Means as the value of Kh goes on increases, the solubility of the gas will be less. It indicates that the given gas is non-polar in nature. The given gas is non-polar in nature. Therefore, the solubility will be very less at a particular pressure, but with increase in pressure, solubility may be increases. If I increase the Henry's constant with increase in temperature, with increase in Kh constant, Henry's constant with increase in temperature, solubility always decreases. Solubility always decreases. And with the decrease of temperature, sorry, this one is not there. Henry's constant increase with increase of temperature imply that solubility decrease with increase of temperature at the same pressure. At the same pressure. Please note it down. So what does this above statement indicates? The value of Kh. The value of Kh is directly proportional to temperature, but solubility, we know that decreases with increase in temperature at same pressure. Okay. Now coming to applications of Henry's law. In the production of carbonated beverages, nothing but soda water. In the production of soda water, under high pressure, the carbon dioxide is soluble in water. Under high pressure, the carbon dioxide is soluble in water and it is stored in a closed container. As soon as the mouth of the bottle get opened, this carbon dioxide suddenly get releases into the atmospheric air. With high pressure. Therefore, solubility of carbon dioxide decreases because gas bubbles out from the bottle. So we know that. So this is the normal place. Think that this is we are a hill station. So at sea level, the pressure will be good. It is maximum. As we move towards higher altitudes, the pressure goes on decreases. During respiration, during respiration, oxygen should get easily dissolves in blood only at particular pressure. Oxygen get easily dissolves in blood only at particular pressure, which is possible at normal level. But as soon as a person start moving towards the hill station, he will use lack of mechanical work. Because of lack of mechanical work, respiration process takes place rapidly, but due to decrease in the pressure, dissolution or solubility of oxygen in blood goes on decreases. Solubility of oxygen in blood goes on decreases, which make us feel weak and unable to think, which also leads to the unconsciousness, and this is called as anoxia. This is called as anoxia. In the function of lungs, during our respiration, the partial pressure of oxygen is very high, therefore it easily combines with hemoglobin to form oxyhemoglobin. During respiration means during inhalation of oxygen, the oxygen enters into the lungs, and due to the pressure of oxygen is more, it easily combines with the hemoglobin, that is blood. It easily soluble in blood to form oxyhemoglobin. As soon as it transferred into the tissues, the partial pressure of oxygen becomes low. Therefore, oxygen get released from hemoglobin to the cells, so that cells do the proper function. Scuba divers. You may listen that many number of scuba divers, especially the beginners, will end their life in the beginning only. The reason I will give the why, because whenever that think that this is the surface of the sea level, and this is a very high depth of sea level, here the pressure will be okay, minimum, but as soon as he start moving towards the depth of the sea level, the pressure inside the sea level, under the sea level goes on increases, and it will be maximum. Whenever a person enters from here by taking the required oxygens and other atmospheric air, and he start diving, as soon as he reaches the depth of the sea, here due to high pressure, almost all atmospheric gases inhaled by these persons are easily soluble in the blood. Once he start coming from bottom to top of the surface, of the sea level, what happens? The pressure goes on decreases. Which releases the dissolved gases, and leads to the formation of bubbles of nitrogen in blood. Means other gases may get releases, but nitrogen which is present along with the oxygen in our atmospheric air will easily soluble in blood, which creates the bubbles. Due to this high dissolution of nitrogen in blood, it blocks capillaries and creates a medical condition known as bends. As soon as the sea driver comes to the top, it creates the bends, because by blocking the capillaries, because of maximum dissolved amount of nitrogen, which is painful and dangerous to the life. So to avoid this bend, scuba divers fill the air by using other elements such as helium, along with nitrogen and oxygen. This helium prevents, what is the action of helium? It prevents the solubility of nitrogen. In blood at high pressure. Okay, students, until now I taught the concept what is the meaning of solubility. Then we started solubility of gas in liquid. Based on solubility of gas in liquid, I taught one concept that is called as Henry's law. Now based on Henry's law, we will solve some simple problems. If nitrogen gas is bubbled through water at 293 Kelvin, how many millimoles of nitrogen gas would dissolve in 1 liter of water? Number of moles of nitrogen we should have to calculate number of millimoles of nitrogen. No, sorry. Number of millimoles of nitrogen is always equal to number of moles of nitrogen dissolved in 1 liter of water into 1000. Means I need to find out how many number of moles of nitrogen dissolved in 1 liter of water. Given that partial pressure of nitrogen is 0.987 bar and this one is Kelvin bar, Henry's constant. Here it is bar, Kelvin bar, therefore it is represented as 76480 bar. Okay. Now we got an equation. Partial pressure of nitrogen gas is always equal to Kh into solubility or mole fraction of nitrogen. If I calculate the mole fraction of nitrogen, then I can easily calculate the number of moles of nitrogen. How? Therefore, mole fraction of nitrogen or solubility of nitrogen is always equal to partial pressure of nitrogen by Henry's constant. Partial pressure of nitrogen is 0.987 bar by 76480 bar. So what the value we are getting here? 1.29 into 10 to the power of minus 5. Bar and bar get cancelled. Since we know that number of moles of water is always equal to mass, that is 1 liter, by its molecular mass 18, that is 55.55. We also know that mole fraction of nitrogen is always equal to number of moles of nitrogen by number of moles of nitrogen plus number of moles of water. You can observe here I am dissolving millimoles of nitrogen in 1 liter of water. It indicates that number of moles of water compared to number of moles of nitrogen is maximum. Therefore, number of moles of water plus number of moles of hydrogen can be written as number of moles of nitrogen. Hence, we will write it like this now. Mole fraction of nitrogen is equal to number of moles of nitrogen by number of moles of water. Now, what I need to find out? Number of moles of nitrogen, this one. Therefore, number of moles of nitrogen is equal to mole fraction of nitrogen into number of moles of water. That is equal to 1.29 into 10 to the power of minus 5 into 55.55. The much 71.5 into 10 to the power of minus 5 mole. So finally what I need to calculate? Number of millimoles. Therefore, number of millimoles of nitrogen is equal to 71.5 into 10 to the power of minus 5 into 1000. That is equal to how much you'll get? 0.715 millimole. Okay, student, pause the video and note down the answer. Okay, now the next question is Henry's law constant Kh they given 4.27 into 10 to the power of 5 mm of Hg for the molality of methane in benzene. Calculate the solubility of methane, that is mole fraction of methane in benzene. I need to calculate. How to calculate? We know that partial pressure of methane gas is always equal to Kh into solubility of methane gas. So directly I will write solubility or mole fraction of methane gas is always equal to partial pressure of methane gas by Henry's constant. That is equal to partial pressure of methane gas is 4.27 into 10 to the power of 5 mm of Hg divided by 760 mm of Hg. Methane benzene 7. Sorry, I have written wrong. 1 minute, I'll make it perfect. Sorry, 760 mm of Hg divided by Henry's constant is 4.27 into 10 to the power of 5 mm of Hg. What is the value you are getting? Finally, 1.78 into 10 to the power of minus 3. Hence the answer. Pause the video and note down the answer. Okay, question students. The question is Henry's constant for water they given in terms of atmosphere. If the partial pressure of oxygen in the air is also given 0.2 atmosphere, what is the concentration, that is number of moles, mole per liter dissolved in oxygen in water at equilibrium? I need to calculate number of moles of oxygen which is dissolved in water in 1 liter of water at equilibrium. Okay, to solve this problem we got an equation. Partial pressure of oxygen is always equal to, mole fraction of oxygen is always equal to partial pressure of oxygen divided by kH. What is the partial pressure they given? 0.2 atmosphere by 4.34 into 10 to the power of 4 atmosphere. Cancel, therefore we get the mole fraction value 4.6 into 10 to the power of 4.6 into 10 to the power of minus 6. So since mole fraction of oxygen is equal to number of moles of oxygen by number of moles of oxygen plus number of moles of water. Number of moles of water when compared to this will be maximum, therefore I can rewrite this equation as mole fraction of oxygen is equal to number of moles of oxygen by number of moles of water. I need to find this value, therefore what I will do, number of moles of oxygen is always equal to mole fraction of oxygen into number of moles of water, that is equal to 4.6 into 10 to the power of minus 6 into 55.55. Okay students, what the answer we get, that is equal to 2.55 into 10 to the power of minus 4 mole per liter. Hence the answer we got. Now Henry's constant for carbon dioxide in water they given. How much? 1.67 into 10 to the power of 8 Pascal. Calculate the quantity of carbon dioxide present in 500 ml of soda water when packed under 2.3 atmosphere of carbon dioxide. Here pressure of carbon dioxide in terms of atmosphere they given, but here they given in terms of Pascal. First I'll convert that atmosphere to Pascal. Pressure of CO2 is equal to 2.3 atmosphere, or it can also written as 2.3 into 10 to the power of 5 Pascal. Now I will find out first what is the mole fraction of carbon dioxide, because first I need to find out number of moles of carbon dioxide present in 1 liter of solution, then which can be converted into 500 ml. So to find out that, what I will do, first I need to find out the mole fraction of carbon dioxide. Mole fraction of carbon dioxide is equal to partial pressure of carbon dioxide by Henry's constant, that is equal to 2.3 into 10 to the power of 5 Pascal by 1.67 into 10 to the power of 8 Pascal. Okay, now what happens to the mole fraction value? Check it out. It becomes 1.3. Therefore mole fraction of carbon dioxide is equal to 1.39 into 10 to the power of minus 3 you will get. We know that since mole fraction of carbon dioxide is equal to number of moles of CO2 whole divided by carbon dioxide plus water, this component is very less when compared to this, therefore it can also written as number of moles of carbon dioxide is equal to mole fraction of carbon dioxide into mole fraction of water, that is equal to, what is the value we are getting here, 1.39 into 10 to the power of minus 3 into 55.55. Therefore number of moles of carbon dioxide is equal to, we get 77.14 into 10 to the power of minus 3. Or you can also written as number of moles of carbon dioxide is equal to 0.0771 moles. I need to express what is the quantity, that is in terms of grams. I got in terms of moles, I need to convert into grams. How to convert? Very simple. Now I'll write like this. 1 mole of carbon dioxide. 1 mole of carbon dioxide contains 44 grams. 1 mole of carbon dioxide nothing but 44 grams of CO2. Then 0.0771 mole of CO2, nothing but how much? Please calculate. You'll get 3.39 grams of CO2, means this is the amount of carbon dioxide present in 1 liter of water. That is 3.39 grams of CO2 present in 1000 ml of solution. What I need to calculate? In 500 ml of solution, what is the amount of carbon dioxide is present? 1.697 grams of CO2. So this is the amount of carbon dioxide present in 500 ml at this temperature and pressure. Please note it down. Okay students, we will move further. The next concept is solution of liquids in liquids, means we are dissolving liquid solute in liquid solvent to form a homogeneous solution. Here we need to study one concept very important, that is vapor pressure, which is already taught in the first year PUC concept called states of matter. So first we will deal with what is the meaning of vapor pressure, then I will teach remaining part. Consider I got a closed container. I will take a closed container. In this closed container, half of the container is filled with liquid solvent, some water. I'm going to fill with water. These are the water molecules which are present at the center and which is surrounded by many other molecules, So this molecule is called as bulky molecule, and the force of attraction of this molecule with other molecules will be equal and opposite in direction. Therefore, their intermolecular force of attraction can be considered as 0, and their kinetic energy can be also considered as 0. But water molecules are not rest in position, but they are always moment in nature. Therefore, they collide with each other. As soon as they start colliding with each other, they exert certain pressure. Due to this, these molecules move from bottom to surface level of the liquid. They move from bottom to surface level of the liquids. Think that these are the molecules which are present at the surface level. These are all surface level molecules. And these molecules are attracted by other molecules. These molecules are attracted by other molecules only from one side, not from all the sides, only from the one side behind them. And they possess some surface level molecules. And these surface level molecules possess less intermolecular force of attraction, here intermolecular force of attraction will be maximum. Intermolecular force of attraction will be maximum. They possess less intermolecular force of attraction compared to other liquid molecules. And they possess more kinetic energy. Compared to other molecules, other liquid molecules. So what does it indicates? If the molecule present at the center of the container, their intermolecular force of attraction with other molecules is maximum and kinetic energy will be minimum. But once they start colliding with each other, they move from bottom to top. During moving, their intermolecular force of attraction between the molecule goes on decreases, but their kinetic energy goes on decreases. And at this level, these molecules create certain pressure. That pressure is represented as liquid pressure. These surface molecule create some pressure. That pressure is represented as liquid pressure. When it becomes exactly equal to atmospheric pressure, when the pressure of the liquids which are present on the surface of the liquid, when the pressure of the molecules which are present on the surface becomes exactly equal to atmospheric pressure, then evaporation takes place. So what is meant by evaporation? The process of conversion of liquid molecules into gaseous molecules when the pressure of the liquid molecules becomes exactly equal to atmospheric pressure. Therefore, evaporation takes place. Due to this, some liquid molecules are present in evaporated state. Now what happens? These molecules also possess some kinetic energy. They also possess some kinetic energy. Due to this kinetic energy, they move randomly in all the direction, like this, like this, like this, like this. They move randomly in all the direction, collide with each other, and they also exert the pressure, and they return back to the surface of the liquid. And then they also return back to the surface of the liquid. As soon as this molecule reaches to the surface of the liquid, and if the pressure of atmosphere again becomes exactly equal to the pressure of liquid, and if the intermolecular forces increases, the evaporated molecules get condensed. Condensation process also takes place, and there exists a dynamic equilibrium between evaporation and condensation at the surface of the liquid. At the surface of the liquid, there is a dynamic equilibrium exists between evaporation as well as condensation. This is because the pressure created by the vapors on the surface of the liquid, because the pressure created by the vapors on the surface of liquid, which is called as vapor pressure. So what is the meaning of vapor pressure? The pressure exerted by the vapors on the surface of liquid at equilibrium. Very simple. The pressure exerted by the vapors on the surface of the liquid at equilibrium is called as vapor pressure. Why it cannot be carried out in open container? You may ask the question, why this process cannot be carried out in open container? If I use this open container, the molecules collide. They will collide like this. They will fight with each other. As soon as they fight with each other, this molecule get vaporizes. When the pressure of liquid becomes equal to atmospheric pressure, and as soon as they get vaporizes, they never be within the container. They move out of into the surroundings. Therefore, volume of liquid decreases, and these molecules do not create the pressure on the surface of the liquid because they easily enters into the atmospheric air. Therefore, it should be carried out only in closed container but not in open container. Please note it down. Okay, students, next, what are the factors favoring the vapor pressure? The first one is nature of solvent. Nature of solvent. If the given solvents are two types. One is volatile solvent, another one is non-volatile solvents. Non-volatile solvent, and the condition is the solvent should be in liquid state. So this is also liquid volatile solvent. This is also non-volatile liquid solvent. Volatile liquid solvents evaporates very easily due to less intermolecular force of attraction. Due to less intermolecular force of attraction, they easily get vaporizers by creating maximum vapor pressure on the surface of the liquid. In case of non-volatile liquid solvent, they possess more intermolecular force of attraction. Therefore, they will exert minimum vapor pressure on the surface of the liquid. But the condition is this process should be carried out only in closed container. It should be carried out only in closed container. Next, coming to effect of temperature. As temperature increases, kinetic energy of solvent molecules also increases, and intermolecular force of attraction between the molecules decreases. Therefore, they get vaporization process takes place easily. Vaporization process also increases. So it indicates that temperature is directly proportional to vapor pressure. Temperature is directly proportional to vapor pressure because more number of vapors will be there. Therefore, vapor pressure also get increases. So if I plot the graph with respect to temperature temperature versus vapor pressure. Temperature versus vapor pressure, we get a graph like this. It can also explained in one more equation, that is ln P2 by P1. P2, P1 indicates the vapor pressure of the solvent at two different temperature is equal to delta H by R into 1 by T1 minus 1 by T2. So where P1 and P2 are the vapor pressure at temperature T1 and T2, and delta H is called as enthalpy of vaporization. Enthalpy of vaporization. Okay. Next, coming to vapor pressure of a solution. The vapor pressure of a solution depends on both solute as well as solvent. So it can be explained like this. If a solution is made up of non-volatile solute, that is liquid only, is mixed with non-volatile solvent, it is also liquid. Like this, I can prepare one solution and I can prepare one more solution. Volatile liquid, and in another case I will take a volatile solute, it is also liquid, is mixed with volatile solvent, it is also a liquid. So in like this I can prepare the solution. Now when non-volatile solute combines with non-volatile solvent, one more I can write here, non-volatile solute, it is liquid, is mixed with volatile solvent, it is also liquid. In these three cases, in which solution the vapor pressure is maximum? Consider this is solution A, I will consider this is solution B, and this is solution C. In these three cases, in which case the vapor pressure is maximum means solution B possesses vapor pressure order I am writing. Solution B possesses greater vapor pressure than C, which is than A. The reason is, in case of solution A, both solute and solvent are non-volatile in nature. Therefore, vapor pressure will be least. But in case of B, both solute and solvent are volatile in nature. Therefore, the vapor pressure is maximum. And in this case, volatile solvent is there and non-volatile solute is there. Therefore, vapor pressure is in between A and B. Now, out of these three cases, if I come with respect to A, which component is responsible for creating the vapor pressure means both the components. Both components have equal both components has got equal contribution towards the vapor pressure. In this case also, the pressure exerted by the solution is exactly equal to solute as well as solvent. What fraction of solute exerts the vapor pressure, equal fraction of solvent also exerts the vapor pressure. But in this case, solvent, the vapor pressure of the solution is due to solvent is greater than solute. The reason is solvent present in volatile state and solute present in non-volatile state. Okay, understood? Coming to the next very important concept that is very, very important for class 12 examination, that is Rolle's law of binary solution. Binary solution means it is a two components mixture. Consider a liquid A and this is liquid B. Both are volatile in nature. Both the components are volatile in nature. This is volatile liquid A and this is also volatile liquid B. So these are the A molecules, and these are the molecules which are present in vapor state. B liquid molecules, B, and these are the molecules which is present in vapor phase. So they create the pressure. Whatever the pressure created by the vapors on the surface of the liquid is represented as P naught A. P naught A represent vapor pressure exerted by the pure liquid. and here also they exert the pressure. This therefore it is represented as P naught B. What does P naught B indicates? Vapor pressure of pure liquid B. When these two get combined, A, B, we get solution, we get a homogeneous solution, and in vapors, this is the vapor pressure of the solution, which is represented as P total. Now, in this solution, I need to find out, what is the partial vapor pressure of A and B. With respect to A, if I explain, the partial pressure of A in a binary solution, the vapor pressure created by the component A is directly proportional to its mole fraction of the component. With respect to B, I can write it as PB is directly proportional to mole fraction of B. Or very simple. In a solution of volatile liquids, the partial vapor pressure of each component, is directly proportional to its mole fraction. Or it can also written as PA is always equal to mole fraction of A into P naught A, and it is represented as PB is always equal to mole fraction of B into P naught B, where PA naught A and P naught B are the vapor pressure of component A and component B in their pure state. This is called as Raoult's law of binary solution. Students, there is two questions they will ask in this solution: Raoult's law of dilute solution, Raoult's law of binary solution. So Raoult's law of binary solution definition is this: what is, in a solution of volatile liquids, the partial vapor pressure of each component is directly proportional to its mole fraction. Please note it down. So according to Dalton's law, P total is always equal to partial pressure of A plus partial pressure of B. I need to calculate the total pressure exerted by all the components present in the solution. Since we know that what is the PA value and PB value, I will substitute here. Therefore, P total is equal to mole fraction of A into P naught A plus mole fraction of B into P naught B. We know that mole fraction of A is always equal to 1 minus XB, or I can also rewrite this one like this. First I will teach you. A plus mole fraction of B is equal to 1 if mole fraction of A is equal to 1 minus XB. Then this equation can rewrite as P total is equal to 1 minus XB into P naught A plus B into P naught B, or P naught A minus mole fraction of B into P naught A plus mole fraction of B into P naught B, or it can also written as P naught A plus mole fraction of B into P naught A minus P naught B. One more expression I can write it down. If mole fraction of B is equal to 1 minus XA, then how can I write P total is equal to XA into P naught A, mole fraction of A into P naught A plus 1 minus mole fraction of A into P naught B, or it can written as P total is equal to P naught B plus P naught B minus mole fraction of B into P naught B. Finally, I can write it as P total. P total is equal to these two factors remain same. Therefore, we can write it as P naught B plus mole fraction of A into P naught A minus P naught B. Hence the expression. Please note it down. So, in solution, until now we calculate what is the vapor pressure created by the liquid molecules. In solution, the pressure also created by the vapor molecules. Therefore, Ya and Yb are considered as mole fraction of mole fraction of gaseous molecules, mole fraction of gaseous molecules which exerts the in vapor phase, which exerts the vapor pressure. So how to calculate this one? Mole fraction of A in vapor phase is always equal to PA by P total, that is equal to mole fraction of A into P naught A by mole fraction of A into P naught A plus mole fraction of B into P naught B. And YB, mole fraction of B component, is equal to in vapor phase PB by P total, that is equal to mole fraction of B into P naught B by mole fraction of A into P naught A plus mole fraction of B into P naught B. Hence the expression. Pause the video and note it down. So think that I got two composition, that is mole fraction of A, here it is 100% is there, and mole fraction of B, in this case it will be 100% is there. Both are volatile solids. Here mole fraction of B is considered as 0, and here mole fraction of A is considered as 0. Okay. B and A both exerts vapor pressure. This is the pressure exerted by the B in its pure component, or it is represented as P naught B, and this is the vapor pressure exerted by the pure component A, which is represented as P naught A. Think that B is more volatile. B is more volatile than A. Therefore, P naught B is greater than P naught A. Now, once I start, A combines with B to form solution. Still 99, 1, again 90, 10, again 75, 25, again 50, 50, 25, 50, again 25, 50, 10, 90, last 1, 99. Means the component of A goes on decreases, at the same time the component B goes on increases. As the component A goes on increases, vapor pressure exerted by the component A also decreases. From here to here, the vapor pressure decreases, which is represented like this. So this line indicates that decrease in the vapor pressure of pure component of A, because as we move down the like this graph, the composition of component A goes on decreases. Now here it is 99. Think that it is 99. Here it is 99. As soon as it starts with mixing with A, its composition also goes on decreases. Therefore, as the composition goes on decreases, automatically what happens? The vapor pressure also decreases for B. So like this we plot the graph. Now this is the graph which indicates the total vapor pressure of both the components, that is P total is always equal to PA plus PB. When I move like this, XB concentration goes on increases and XA concentration goes on decreases. Pause the video and note it down. Now coming to the next very important concept of Raoult's law, that is ideal solutions and non-ideal solutions. Ideal gases. Gases which obeys Boyle's law, Charles law at all temperature and pressure. Similarly, solutions which obey Raoult's law at all concentration and temperature is called as ideal solution. Simple example I will take two components A and BB. One is solute, liquid solute, another one is liquid solvent. When these two get combined with each other, we get a solution, that is homogeneous solution, that is AB. This is solution. Now I'm going to check in the case of reactant molecules, I'm going to check the intermolecular forces, and I am also going to check the intermolecular forces in products also. When I compare the intermolecular force of reactant and products, both are same. Means delta H mixing becomes exactly equal to 0, because if the intermolecular force of attraction in reactant and products are same, then During mixing solute with solvent, there is no liberation or no absorption of heat energy takes place, and delta V mixing also becomes equal to 0. There will be no change in the volume because there is no change in the heat energy. Such solutions are called as ideal solutions. So what are ideal solutions? Solutions which obey Rolle's law over the entire range of concentration and temperatures. And these are the simple examples for ideal solution. Please note it down. Coming to non-ideal solutions. What are non-ideal solutions? Means real gases which do not obey Charles law, like that. They do not obey Rolle's law. Non-ideal solution which do not obey Rolle's law at all concentration and temperature of the solution. Consider a solute A and A. Liquid solute is combines with liquid solvent BB. Liquid solvent to form a solution AB. I'm going to check the intermolecular force of attraction in reactants. Intermolecular forces in case of reactants, as well as I'm going to check the intermolecular forces in case of products. Both are not same. In case of non-ideal solution, the intermolecular force of attraction of reactants or products are not same. So it indicates that during mixing up of these two components, either heat energy can be liberated or it can be absorbed. That is, delta H solution becomes 0, and volume during mixing up of this solution, volume of the reaction vessel or the volume of the product may increases or it may be decreases. Okay. So coming to next, types of non-ideal solutions. Non-ideal solutions can be broadly classified into two types. The first one is solutions showing positive deviations and solutions which showing negative deviations. Solution with positive deviations. Consider a solution like this. A, this is solute, liquid solute combines with liquid solvent to form a homogeneous solution like this, A, B. This is solution. In this case, the intermolecular force of reactants when compared with intermolecular force of products, it indicates like this, means the intermolecular force of attraction of reactants is greater than intermolecular force of attraction of products. It indicates that in case of pure solute and solvent, the molecules are present very closer with each other. But in case of products, they present far away from each other. Therefore, delta V mixing becomes greater than 0. 100 plus 100 becomes more than 200 because molecules move far away from each other. Whenever the molecules move far away from each other to attain the stability, they always absorb the heat energy. Therefore, delta H mixing also becomes greater than 0. Delta V mixing becomes greater than 0, as well as delta H value becomes greater than 0. The reason is to attain the stability of these molecules which are present in the far away from each other, they try to absorb the heat energy during the mixing up of solute with solvent. So if I plot the graph for this is the mole fraction of A and this will be the mole fraction of B. Okay. Now it will be 100% and it will be 100%. XP is equal to 0, XA is equal to 0. This is P naught A, vapor pressure component, P naught B. Now if you check, this is the normal graph, but when delta V mixing and delta H mixing becomes greater than 0, this is the deviation is observed in the solution. So what does it indicate? Compared to the ideal behavior, in case of non-ideal solution, In case of non-ideal solution, they shows positive deviation from ideal behavior. They shows positive deviation from ideal behavior. Therefore, in such solution, the vapor pressure will be maximum. If vapor pressure will be maximum, then the boiling point of such solution will be minimum. Boiling point of such solution will be minimum. Please note it down. So these are the example for positive deviations. These are the example for positive deviations. Note it down. Now coming to solutions with a negative deviation. Consider a solute AA. Solute combines with solvent BB. Combines with solvent BB to form a solution AB. To form a solution AB. I will check the intermolecular force of attraction between pure solutes and solution. If I check like this, intermolecular force of attraction of reactants, and I am going to compare with the intermolecular force of attraction of products. It is shown like this. It indicates that molecules which are present in the solutions are very nearer to each other when compared to their pure state. That indicates that delta V mixing is less than 0. So whenever the molecules come closer and closer with each other, it possible only with the liberation of heat energy. Therefore, delta H mixing is also becomes than 0. Now if I go to explain with respect to the graph by using a graph, this is the mole fraction of A and this is the mole fraction of B, and here it is the mole fraction of B is equal to 0 and mole fraction of A is equal to 0. This is considered as P naught A and this is considered as P naught B. So this is the actual graph obtained compared to the ideal behavior. Compared to the ideal behavior. So what does this graph indicates? This graph indicates that non-ideal shows negative deviation from its ideal curve. Therefore, here we can write it as P total is less than PA plus PB. Since in this case vapor pressure is minimum, therefore boiling point of solution will be maximum. Vapor pressure will be minimum and the boiling point of the solution will be maximum. So these are the examples. Please note it down. Okay students, now we will solve problems based on Rolle's law of binary solution. The question is very simple. The vapor pressure of pure liquid A and B, they are given. P naught A and P naught B given. This is P naught A and this is P naught B given. Find the composition of the mixture. Find the composition. First I need to find out the mole fraction of A and B if P total is this much, and also I need to calculate the mole fraction of A and B in vapor phase. So we know that P total is always equal to PA plus PB, or I can also write it as P total is equal to mole fraction of A into P naught of A plus mole fraction of B into P naught B. I'll use this concept. Mole fraction of B is equal to 1 minus mole fraction of A. Therefore, what I will get, P total is equal to P naught B plus mole fraction of A into P naught A minus P naught B. Now substitute the values. This is how much? 600 mm is equal to 700 plus mole fraction of A into 450 minus 700. So what is the mole fraction of A we will get? Mole fraction of A we will get on solving 0.4. Then what is the mole fraction of B? Mole fraction of B is equal to 0.6. So we got the answer. Find the composition in the mixture. Now I need to solve for vapor phase composition. In vapor phase we know that YA is equal to PA by P total. PA divided by P total. Okay, ra? What is PA? PA is always equal to mole fraction of A into P naught A. So we find out mole fraction of A is 0.4 into 450, that is equal to 180 mm of Hg, and Pb is equal to Xb into P naught B, that is equal to 0.6 into 700, which is almost equal to 420 mm of Hg. Therefore, P total is equal to 180 plus 420 is equal to 600 mm. Therefore, mole fraction of is equal to Pi is 180 divided by 600. We'll get 6 3s are 0. Almost 3. 6 3s are 80. No, got. Therefore, what is YB? YB is equal to 0.7. Pause the video and note it down. Now, second question. We got two liquids, X and Y, on mixing with ideal solution. At 30 degrees Celsius, the vapor pressure of the liquid solution containing 3 moles of X and 1 mole of Y is 550 mm of Hg. So, when X combines with Y is equal to P total they given. How many X moles are there? 3 moles of X combines with 1 mole of Y is equal to 550 mm of Hg they given. So, based on that, first I need to find out then what the question is given. But when 4 moles of X and 1 mole of Y are mixed, the vapor pressure will be 560 mm. What will be the vapor pressure of pure X and Y? I need to calculate what is the vapor pressure of P naught A and P naught B. P naught X and P naught Y I need to calculate. So we know that P total is equal to XA into P naught A plus XB into P naught B. X and Y they given as 3 and 1. So total 4 moles they given. Total they given 4 moles. So P total how much they given? 550 is equal to XA means 3 by 4. So I'll write clear. XA is equal to number of moles of X is 3. Total number of moles is 4, which is equal to 0.75. And XY is equal to 1 by 4, that is equal to 0.25. Therefore 0.75 into P naught X, sorry, this is Y. X plus 0.25 into P naught Y. Multiply this whole factor into 4. So I will get 2200 into 3 P naught X plus P naught Y. This is considered as equation 1. In second case, 4 moles of X and 1 mole of Y is there. Therefore, mole fraction of A is equal to 4 by 5. How much? Find out. 4 by 5 means 0.8. And XY is nothing but 1 by 5. That is equal to 0.2. Therefore, again, P total is equal to X into P naught X plus mole fraction of Y into P naught Y. P total is how much they given? 560 now. 560 is equal to 0.8 into P naught X plus 0.2 into P naught Y. Multiply this factor into 5 so that we can solve the problem easily at the end. So we get 2800 is equal to 4 P naught X plus P naught Y. This is equation 2. Subtract equation 2 minus equation 1. So already we got equation 2. I will put here 2200 is equal to 3 P naught X plus P naught Y. This is equation 1. What I get? Gone. So 600 mm of Hg we got with respect to P naught X. Then with respect to P naught Y is equal to 400 mm. Please note it down. Now the question is vapor pressure of benzene and toluene they are given. P naught of benzene and P naught of toluene they are given. If the mole fraction of benzene is this much, then what is the mole fraction of benzene in vapor phase? I need to calculate. That is YB. So we know that mole fraction of benzene is always equal to PB by P total. I need to calculate P total first. We know that P total is always equal to PB. This is total. P total is always PB plus P toluene. Total. So P total is equal to PB means mole fraction of benzene into P naught B plus mole fraction of toluene into P naught toluene. If mole fraction of benzene is equal to 0.4, then what will be the mole fraction of toluene? It automatically 0.6. Therefore P total is always equal to 0.4 into 184 tar plus plus 0.6 into 59 tar. Therefore we get P total becomes how much? Is equal to 109.0 tar. Now I will calculate the mole fraction of benzene in vapor phase, that is equal to PB benzene. How much? 0.4 into 184 divided by 109, that is equal to 0.675. Then mole fraction of toluene becomes how much? 1 minus 0.675, that is equal to 0.325. Hence the answer. Okay students, coming to the last part of this today's class. The vapor pressure of two liquids A and B are 80 tar and 60 tar respectively. Calculate the total vapor pressure of the solution obtained by mixing 3 moles of A and 2 moles of B. Then mole fraction of A is equal to, we know that number of moles of A by number of moles of A plus number of moles of B, that is 3 divided by 3 plus 2. 3 plus 2 means 5. 5 by 2 means 0.6. Then what will be the mole fraction of B? That is equal to 0.4. Then I need to find out P total. P total is equal to mole fraction of A into P naught A plus mole fraction of B into P naught B, that is equal to 0.6 into 80 plus 0.4 into 60. Then what is the total pressure? Total pressure is always equal to 72 tar. 72 tar. So thank you students for watching the video. If you like this video, please subscribe for more videos. Have a nice day.